Go ahead and make a repeating pattern today. It'll actually be a seamless repeating pattern, meaning that it matches exactly on both sides and the top and bottom, because you don't want a noticeable distinction between your swatches when creating a pattern. You want it to be seamless over a large area. So the first thing I need to do is create a new file to work with. I don't want it this whole size of my composition because that sort of defeats the purpose and you won't really get a repeating pattern that way. So I want to go ahead and create a file that's 2 inches by 2 inches. That's not a hard and fast rule, it's just an easy size to work with for our purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and click create, and I'm going to get a new file. Some things to show you to start with. How do patterns work? So patterns require that whatever is on this side be on this side to be seamless. Same with top and bottom. So if I create a square, and I'm going to go ahead and fill it with one of the existing patterns that comes with the program, and I can see wherever it hits on one side, it hits on the other. It's a little more noticeable when I actually hit the full square amount. You can kind of see whatever's here continues here. If I actually go inside this pattern, I can see further how one side, whatever is sort of grayed out, goes on the other side then and matches. Illustrator does come with some default patterns, but they're not acceptable to use for this assignment. You can also edit those existing patterns, so I could change colors on here, go ahead and save a copy, or done if I want to just change the actual swatch itself. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel and delete this because we're going to make our own. For purposes of me doing this quickly, I'm going to work with symbols. These are not acceptable for your project, but to show you and not spend all day watching me draw stuff, we're going to use the symbols. So I want to go ahead and start dragging them out here. I'll resize because I don't want my pattern to be a consistent set of objects. I want some variation, so I'm going to start putting in objects on here. I'm working with 4 different flowers in order to make a pattern. I would start just to assemble things. I know I'm going to have to adjust stuff later, but being mindful that if this is here, it will also need to be here. So we're going to do what cooking shows often do, which is jump ahead so you don't watch me playing with the entire pattern. I'm going to go to a different file where I've already sort of perfected what I want with my pattern. And we're going to go ahead and now work on the copy part. So like I said, whatever is here needs to also be here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to select this flower here, and I'm going to go ahead and do Command C or Control C on a PC. As a note, just in case I forget, if you're a PC user and you hear me say Command, you should just know Control, and whatever follows that will work on your computer, just in case I forget. Command C, and then Command F or Control F will paste it in place on top of it, and then I need to move it. So I'm going to go ahead and come up here to the top, and this flower is moving the X way. These other flowers, like this blue one, will move the Y way. So instead of me having to know the value, I'm going to go ahead and just type +2. Because I wanted to move it, if this is my 0 point, I want to move it 2 inches over. And it's going to go ahead and put it in the right spot. Same thing with the one over here. Again, Command C or Control C, and Command F or Control F. And this time, though, instead of typing +2, because that would send me way off the artboard, I'm going to type -2. So I get it in place. With the blue one, again, Command C or Control C, Command C and Control F. This time I'm going to go to the Y-axis. Again, saying +2, because if this is the 0 point, I'm moving 2 forward, and that's going to go ahead and put that in place. I want to keep copying everything, and I'd repeat the same process with this flower, and going ahead and saying, copying it, pasting it, and this time again, because I'm moving in the opposite direction, -2. Same with this one. I'm going to move this one in the opposite direction, and I get my pattern. Okay, so where do I want to go from here? Now I need to put a background color. I don't have to put a background color, but it's useful. Can add interest. In this case, the white flower gets a little lost without a background color. So I'm going to go to my rectangle tool, and I want to go ahead and just click on screen because I know the exact size, and rather than trying to draw that exact size, it's faster just to type it. Go ahead and click OK. I now have a rectangle. There's no color in it. I'm going to go up to my swatches panel, and I do not have the color yet. So I could try some of these other greens. That's a little bright. The beige blends a little too much against the white. So I'm actually going to go to my library, and I'm going to select an earth tone, and I'm going to select this green. It's a nice color, coordinates well with everything, not fancy. We're going to go ahead and try to get this exactly right behind it, and the easiest way to do that is to actually use the values up here. So right now, your computer will most likely default to the center point, meaning the value you would have to type would have to be half of what you want. It's easier to me to just click here, tap the reference point in the top corner, and now my values can just be 0. No math involved. Now I want to send this rectangle to the back. I want it behind everything because, as I said, it's a background. So I want to go ahead and either Command Shift and open bracket, Control Shift or open bracket, or for some people, the more comfortable, right click or control click if you don't have that set up on your Mac, and send to back. It should hopefully send it all the way to the back. Uncertain why it's not. So if you ever have this problem, just go ahead and look in your layers. I'm not sure why that's doing that. I'm going to redraw that rectangle really quick because I don't know why it just put it in a different layer. Put it inside a layer, so I really couldn't move that too much. So again, I'm going to position this really quick. And if you're ever having problems and can't figure out why something's not doing what it's supposed to, it's really useful to use this layer panel. All right, we're back to what we want to do. So we're going to go ahead and select this box. I need to copy this. But before I copy it, I'm going to forget a stage here. I want to go ahead and select all the flowers. I don't want the turquoise background though. I just want the flowers. So I want to go ahead and shift select the green background. I don't want that. And then I want to go ahead and group everything. So all the flowers are together. I can't move one without the other. Okay. Now I want to select this background, and again, Command or Control C, and then Command or Control F. But what I need to do now is bring this to the front. So I can do Command Shift in the closing bracket, or right click or control click and go to Arrange and bring to front. Because I need to make a clipping mask. So to make a clipping mask, the item that I'm cutting down to needs to be on top. So I'll select that rectangle or square. Technically it's both. And go ahead and select my flowers. I'm going to control click or right click, make clipping mask. So it cuts it down. Need to do one more step to have this pattern work correctly. Because I can load this pattern right now, but it would acknowledge, you see how when I roll over I can see the shape that just got cropped. It would acknowledge that and space it out. So what I want to do is select everything, and I want to come up here to Window and select Pathfinder and go ahead and go to the crop mode. And what that's going to do is now if I roll over this, it no longer goes past that. So the sort of magical part that you probably thought was so complicated to get this pattern to repeat is actually probably the easiest step of the process. So I'm again going to select everything, and then I'm just going to click and drag here to my swatches panel and release. You should see now it's actually added. It's just going to call it new pattern swatch. We could have forced it to be named something. But now we have a swatch added. So if we go ahead and draw a larger box, because we can't demonstrate that this is working unless it's bigger, I can go ahead and select that swatch, and now you'll see it fills in. And it repeats over the space. I can also, a lot of times when people do this assignment, they find out they don't like how it's repeating, like it's too big or it's too small. So there's an easy way to fix that. I can come up here to Object, Transform, and go to Transform Each. We don't want to mess with one of the other ones. You'll probably want to select your preview box just so you can see on screen what's happening. We want to uncheck Transform Objects. We just want to transform the pattern. And then I can come up here to the scale and enter a value. And you'll notice when I do the 1, it'll stretch it. So I can make it smaller like that. I can make it even smaller. So really teeny tiny repeating pattern, or I can make it a lot larger than what it was to begin with. So I can make it 150% and make it a larger one depending on what you're trying to cover. So that's an option too. And if you decide, oh, I don't like it, or you have to change the size of your box. So if I try to change the size of my box, like it needs to get wider, it's going to want to stretch the pattern and distort it. Just go back and click your swatch again. It will return to normal. So that is how you make a repeating pattern. As you can see, it's nowhere near as complicated as it sounds like. It's just a matter of making sure you accurately position whatever is at the top on the bottom and vice versa, as well as what's on the side on the other side. And then just adding it to your swatches panel, and now it's usable. You may want to create this little square inside your existing composition or in another one and copy it in is fine too. You could also actually create your own personal swatch library and save it to that, and this would be available to you on any machine. One of the benefits of Creative Cloud. So I hope you're able to do it now, and if you have any questions, just come find one of the lab assistants or myself.